Maten Densetsu is made in 1995 for Super Famicom by Takara, the game company that makes games which I have never played nor heard of before. So my expectation was the high going into the game, and also my former statement also did not appear to change even after I have finished the game. This game seems to be so unpopular and obscure that it did not even have a proper wiki page, and rightfully so, as this game falls into a really generic pool of games released in the Super Famicom era. This game got mostly compared to the Maten franchise for some of its similarity, and I had to disagree on that statement because I think this game has its own solid identity, albeit not a very polished game overall. Thank you for recommending this game, and this is Maten Densetsu. Maten Densetsu is relatively short game, and I beat it in around 20 hours. You are given a choice to choose from different kinds of characters from the start, but I just played with the first one. I have heard the only difference is the dialogues and nothing else, so playing all characters didn't really pique my interest at all. And I don't recommend replaying this game either. You can also choose a sword or a gun, but in my experience, the gun are just a worse version of sword since they have cooldown period for one turn after you have used up all of its bullets. The amount of bullets you fire each time you attack is called auto fire, and the number of times you can fire before cooldown is called magazine. But max number of attack time is 10 for both sword and gun, so gun is just a sword but with an additional downside of the cooldown thing. It is a straightforward, maybe not straightforward, but like this game is an absolute mind trip, and I will get to it in a while. But for now, let's start by talking about the difference with Maten Densetsu and Maten games. Maten Densetsu is a turn-based dungeon RPG that takes place in psychic adventures on Japan, which is now in the space. The game starts off with you fighting this fleshy face, so lose to it, and now you woke up inside the laboratory in Tokyo. Here is one of the things I enjoy in Maten Densetsu, and that's exploration in the overworld map. In this game, every NPC you talk to has different portrait, and it is very impressive to see it in this day and age, where only key characters have portraits. Although most of the characters can only be met once and never again, and that blew my mind. This game felt almost as if the art came first before the game at times, because I was surprised to find that characters were drawn by Kazuya Terada, an amazing artist who also made all characters and monster design from Bushin as well. No wonder the foreheads of the characters are very much well defined. Having abandoned our NPC with portraits to talk to is my feeling of isolation in this game world, unlike Maten games, which straight up went for a badass one versus the entire army type of fight, but still managed to make me feel isolated and lonely. But Maten Densetsu is like, hey, go out and talk to everyone and get info, help each other to get through this tough time, and you actually get reward for doing them, which is a bless. Talk about character. The most important character for the story as well as for the gameplay is the heroine, who can be outdone before you fight the first boss, a snake. But the game doesn't really have that much depth into its gameplay mechanic, so fortunately, this snake is easy to defeat. The game is easy to understand, but the thing is, without a game manual, you won't be able to understand how menu works, and the pretty badly designed abbreviation like these. PS, PE, PP, PS, Basically, according to the manual, PS is physical attack, PE is physical defense, PP is speed, MS is magic attack, ME is magic defense, IQ is for increasing EMG, abbreviation for imagination, I think. Because in this game, it appears you can only fight monsters with weapons you made from your own imagination, and they are called psychics. Obviously, you and heroine are both psychics, but only the protagonist can use weapons, while heroine can only use magic. Now, IMG is a very important stat to pay attention to. You also get ENG, abbreviation for energy, from monster you defeat instead of experience points, so there is no levels in this game. Instead, with energy points you accumulated, you can put points into whatever stat you want at any time. Collecting energy points are not that hard because you are guaranteed to max out every stat before the final boss fight, no matter what you do, because of the inflation of energy points you can get from defeated monsters there. Protagonist can make weapons by himself or get weapons via advance. The weapons you create yourself are way stronger than any advanced weapons just because you can adjust how the weapon is going to be produced by yourself instead of using the predetermined stat advanced weapons. But first, you need to have enough ing points to make them, even though you have a lot of energy points to spare. I kinda screwed up making weapons and my attacks went down to 1 at the start. Turns out, weapons need certain stat threshold to meet before you can even use them. Now for heroine, the main thing you should look out for is all the stuff concerned with magic and PSY cycle. PSY cycle increase your magic arsenal and is maxed out at 12. Her magic attacks carry the entire mid-game, but in the late game, monsters that flat out negate her magic attacks start appearing, so she became a full-on support character to buff my protagonist, and that's when his weapons came to a spotlight once more. Finally, we have DEF for defense. I find this one the most fascinating. You see, every point you put into DEF can be distributed to any affinities you want, like physical, energy, and mental. I love how Maten Densetsu gives you so much freedom with how you want to tackle the game within its limited and straightforward gameplay system. Continuing with the gameplay system that gives you freedom, you have to make your own items because there are no shops in this game, and you can make items at the cost of your energy. You might need items for early games, but as soon as heroine enters your party, she just becomes your entire facility that heals you, cures your bad status, can buff and debuff, and inflict all affinity damage with different attack ranges. You can also determine how effective her ESP, which is like a skill in this game by the way, by boosting up to 1 to 5 in exchange for lower or higher energy costs. This way you can manage how much energy you use and be efficient at all times. If you cannot tell already, energy management is everything in this game. Also, there is one item in this game that completely breaks the game, and that is coffee, which gives you 50% of your mana back, and it is also very cheap to make. This most cost-efficient item can enable heroine to do all of the stuff I have said before. It is crazy how coffee can decide the difficulty of Maten Densetsu. Other than that, it is just a turn-based game like any other RPGs out there. As much as people who play Maten Densetsu give praise to the hour in this game, because let's be real, I could only imagine how more than half of this game size is occupied with hours rather than actual gameplay depth. That said, I really hate how monsters look in this game. I don't think any of those monsters hold any meaning other than being made straight out of the artist's head without a second thought. Maten Densetsu struggles to find a solid identity with its world setting, and it continues to do so with the monster as well. So let's start talking about how this game's mind trip actually looks like. First off, we start with Tokyo. I wandered around this ruined city for quite a long time to familiarize with all the menus and the gameplay. Then I found this guy and thought it is just another random encounter, so I made the wrong choice, and turns out Maten Densetsu also have monsters that you can recruit to your team, and I just lost one of them. But don't worry too much about allied monsters because they will become less and less significant as the game goes on. So much so that I don't even bother reviving them in late game, as it just became a waste of energy, literally. Speaking of reviving, as soon as you start the game gives you an infinite usage item that can revive your team members for a cost of a certain percentage of energy. It is good that you have revive item at your disposal at all times, but you could actually get into trouble by abusing this item from early to mid game because you have to keep scaling with the game as you progress, or you will have harder time dealing with monsters. Because the fastest way you can strengthen your character is by energy management. Going into this game, I quickly realized how easy it is to farm energies as soon as I made my level 20 weapon. And that's when I started worrying about my enjoyment with the game because I fear that I will go into the late game feeling very overpowered. So I intentionally decided to power through dungeons quick without grinding and made my way towards the end just like that. And even then, I was left out with a huge surplus of energy with messed out stats nonetheless. So what Maten Densetsu's first-person dungeon exploration looks like? Well, it was bad, like really bad. Every dungeon are just huge dungeons with multiple floors with little to no gimmicks nor traps at all. Good thing it has mini-map, but it doesn't help because you actually have to pay attention to both the first-person screen as well as the mini-map at the same time. On the first-person screen, you cannot see stairs from the distance, but only after you have go inside the wall that you know there is a stair in front of you. And here's another thing the first-person screen has, but mini-map doesn't have. So unlike this, you can see these doors on the first-person screen even from the distance. And you can't afford to miss them because most important points are inside the doors. And so your eyes are on the first-person screen. Then to look out for stairs, you need to look at minimap because it has important icon on it. Now let's say you missed the door. You can open the floor map and look at the door which are indicated by these red lines. Get used to those 3 things and you are good to go. Since there are no traps, you can safely walk around, and apparently exploration is highly encouraged in this game because you can get items, allied monsters and step boosters. If you are not into any of those stuff, just try to go to the topmost part or the lowest part and you will find stairs there most of the time. Although there can be tons of items to be used, the only item you ever need is going to be coffee, so once you get that, just try to beeline towards the stair whenever you can. So yeah, with all that said, dungeons are the worst part of the game, unfortunately. Also, this game can be cryptic with where you are supposed to go and do at times. So I will just point out the places where I got stuck in for anyone who watched this video and wanted to try out the game for some reason. First one is in Tokyo. It is already not a good sign when the place I got stuck in is right at the beginning of the game. I obtained some explosives while I was wandering around aimlessly and then didn't know what to do with them for quite a long time. Then I found out that the place I couldn't access before, among these 4 locations, one of them can be blast open with the explosion in order to proceed the game. Second one is in Shinjuku, literally the next place right after Tokyo. I couldn't fight the snake before I recruit heroine, so I was lost once again, and what do you know? Turns out you can actually pass through this place to reach another site where heroine is in. This black part is obviously some kind of dead end no matter how you look at it, but nope. That's how you find heroine, and boy did I get lost in this part for a very long time. Aside from that 2 places, I didn't get lost for a good amount of time, thankfully. After defeating the snake, you can now enter the upside down building, but it's just for the visuals. The dungeon is just as plain as it can get, but you will get lost if you are not paying attention to the entire screen at all times. Truth be told, when I play dungeon crawlers or dungeon RPGs, I only focus on the minimap and rarely ever look at the first person screen. But this game forces me to do the Maten Densetsu stuff, so I had to learn and adapt to it somehow. The boss in this building is the Thunder God and Wind God. You have to defeat both of them in order to proceed, and after that, you will be teleported by heroine to another place, and now you can never go back to previous places ever again. Up until this point, I was still fighting monsters with my screwed up stat and 1 damage attacks, but after I had defeated Wind God, I got my very first advanced weapon, level 8 gun, and only then can my protagonist start dealing some damage along with heroine. After Shinjuku, we have Hiroshima. This place is filled with bugs and you get to enter a cave-like dungeon. The absence of being able to sidestep becomes very apparent in this cave and many more dungeons later on, because you can only use arrows to navigate through zigzag paths, and this part alone makes me miss Maten games. After Hiroshima, we have Kyoto. Here you get to go defeat 4 mini bosses and collect 4 body parts of Oni. Then this guy will come out of nowhere and have you fight with this part. Then you will be teleported to another location where you get to fight the real Oni boss. I was missing 2 parts before I fight this boss and thought I screwed up again, but turns out the remaining 2 bosses are inside this place and not at Kyoto before. It confuses me, but I defeated Oni boss nonetheless. After Kyoto, we have Nagano. This place is cozy because I get to access the shelter where people live, and the shelter itself is huge with no random encounters. So it might seem like a waste of time to walk around, but for me, I felt a huge relief of not worrying about any monsters as long as I am here. And this is the only place you will ever get to walk around freely. Not to mention, I have a fun time collecting infos from NPCs as well. Other than that, like Hiroshima, Nagano is swarming with plant monsters. Not that it matters because they attack like every other monsters and it was still boring. But the cool thing is, Maten Densetsu has monsters that are not recolored and every one of them is different just like NPCs. So in exchange for that, we got recolored dungeons instead. I don't even know if that is a fair trade-off or not, but this game sure does make me feel like reading art books most of the time because of it. After Nagano, we have Kyushu. This is one of my 2 favorite places in this game. It has good background music and interesting lore surrounding dinosaur humans. How can we come from bugs, plants, and to dinosaur all of a sudden? We actually get to fight with literal dinosaurs, and the boss is also a dinosaur. The game kinda lost me right here. The underlying theme is completely inconsistent, and I just gave up on trying to understand the game and just accept whatever the heck this game gives me, and I just try to enjoy every moment of it. After clearing Kyushu, I got teleported to this lake, but I still need one more item in order to progress the game, and the game did not give you any explanation of how to go back either. I just thought heroine would teleport me like always, and so here is the third time I got lost in Maten Densetsu. Then I found out this is the only time you get to use this pyramid item in your inventory that will teleport back to the place you have missed. And so adventure in Shikoku begins. Shikoku, although not my favorite, this is the most memorable place in Maten Densetsu. You get to enter 4 dungeons as its name. Shi means 4 and Koku means country. You can either head straight for the boss battle and fight an unwinnable boss fight, or you can go around all 4 dungeons to weaken the boss. After bugs, plants, dinosaurs, we got inanimate objects attacking us this time. Going along with the theme, NPCs you get to talk here are also people who turn into stone statues in exchange for their immortality. Each dungeon has its own little gimmick going on, but none of it was interesting. I took the longest time clearing this place because I had to keep backtracking after I had cleared every one of them, as they all are sizably large dungeons and there is no dungeon exit magic like in Maten games. With another missing item in our hand, we can now go back to the lake and enter another dungeon. On the other side of it, you join the battle with the Japanese historical figures and help them fight monsters. Then you get to enter Osaka Castle, and this is my second favorite place. You go through 4 gate guardians while walking around the amazingly made castle layout in the overall map. I found another monster to recruit, but it told me it doesn't want to obey a stupid person, so it tests my memory about the game with 3 questions. I answered one of them incorrectly, so I thought I failed to recruit this guy, but then it joins my party anyway. Not that this guy joining my team changed anything, but hey, at least now I have another monster to serve coffee to my heroine. Thought I was done after I cleared the overall map, but there is still a dungeon to clear, so here we go again. After Osaka Castle, we have finally reached the endgame place, Hokkaido. It is the biggest dungeon I have ever seen so far, and it was absolutely meaningless to fight monsters, as you will most likely have already maxed out all of your stats by now, or even if you are not, you will definitely maxed out your stats anyway with you being lost inside this one giant dungeon. There are some stuff you need to do in order to proceed to the next part. So first off, you talk to these 2 NPCs. Then find this professor and he will make a referral for you to get an ID card. After getting the referral, go talk to this receptionist and she will give you an ID card. With ID card, you can now enter 3 locked places, and inside there you have to defeat all fixed monsters. Each floor has 2 fixed monsters and there are a total of 8 fixed monsters. I was kind of confused what to do next after I claimed each places because the game does not give you any notice message. But I noticed the random encounter completely disappear after you have cleaned up all fixed monsters. So I think that's the indicator instead of the notice message. After I have done all those 3 places, I went back to the professor, but instead of letting me progress the game, he just healed my team. Again, I was lost once more at this point, and turns out you actually need to go talk with these 2 NPCs from before to enter the space shuttle. Only then will you be able to progress the game. This entire mess took me the whole day to figure out, and it was honestly pretty stressful. The boss in Hokkaido is also weird. Most monsters you encounter so far are all some kind of machines mixed with fleshy stuff, and the boss is just a straight up 3-phase flash boss fight, and it was disgusting. After that, you ride a spaceship and enter the moon. You know, looking back everything I have gone through before, me reaching the moon did not make any sense at all. But anyway, this is the final dungeon where you get to open 5 switches and go through 1 conveyor belt floor, then fight the final boss. Believe it or not, this boss fight is actually pretty gimmicky. I was doing my usual thing, buffing my weapon, buffing the attack, defense, and evasion while debuffing the boss, and I was doing 500 plus damage to it, and it was a breeze of a fight. Then soon enough, heroine tells you to attack the boss behind, so she suggests that I attack the boss directly. After that dialogue, the game gives you an option to choose left and right. I chose right and the boss turned around, so I did no damage to it at all. Then I chose left another time and I was able to damage it. I thought maybe I had to wrap around the boss and notice in order to attack its behind, so I kept doing it and it went on for a while, so I started doubting myself. And I discovered I could actually attack the boss without choosing either left or right by just cancelling the option. But still, it did not go down. Finally, it turns out you literally had to attack the boss directly by pressing the up arrow, and then you will just be automatically behind the boss. Like, come on, how am I supposed to know such thing exists in my turn-based game? Here, you get to hit 5 times and the boss will fall. And now time for the second phase, and I had to say, I was not expecting to see a genuine anime moment in a game like this of all things. You cannot deal damage to the boss in this phase, so the protagonist was like, hey, I got to focus energy onto my weapon. So I kept trying to slash the boss, but to no avail. So I thought, what could a guy focusing energy onto his weapon might actually look like, and so I chose to defend. And you know what? Surprisingly enough, it was a correct choice. I had to keep doing that 7 times straight while tanking the boss attacks. You start gathering energies from all sorts of places, including from people you have met along the way. This is just a straight up spirit bomb moment in action. Then you slash the boss with energy infused sword and one shot it. And that's it. After the fight, this blue skull thing will reveal a bunch of stuff, but really all that comes down to is that you save the war and stuff. Nothing new and interesting. Then you return back to the war on a spaceship with heroine and the game ends. After the credit, the game will show you all of its artworks 14 minutes straight, and I don't really see the point. Why don't you just have a separate gallery on the main menu instead? But that is Maten Densetsu. Now I don't recommend this game other than people who just want to quench their curiosity of this little known game. I will even put it on the obscure category given the state of the game, and I think Maten Densetsu deserves a spot for its lack of mainstream appeal and also core classic appeal, unlike Maten games. The game starts losing its resemblance to Maten games as it went on and becomes a totally different identity for better or worse, but it was still interesting enough to talk about nonetheless. So I say it was well worth it to make a video about this game. I want to thank you for recommending this game for the second time. As always, I am Nai and hope to see you guys again next time. Bye bye.